the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God. The people who sat in darkness have seen a great light, and upon those who sat in the region and shadow of death, light has dawned. Dear brothers and sisters, as we celebrate this after feast of Theophany, the great feast of lights, we sing again and again about how Christ has come and enlightened the whole world, illumined the universe. Again and again we speak of this illumination, this light that has come forth upon those who are in darkness. And yet, many of us, perhaps most of us, feel that it's not the light, but the darkness that is getting stronger. The news, of course, is relentless. The atrocities every day that are brought to our attention, things we thought that were relegated to history, seem to be the new normal. The very moral fabric of the world seems to be tearing. There's a paradox here, surely, that if Christ has come and enlightened the whole world, why does it feel so dark? One way of resolving the paradox is, of course, objectively to say, yes, the world is both dark and darkening. That is the reality. But what that enlightenment that Christ brought was a kind of truth that one can figure out and work out. Perhaps it was told to us. And once you've worked that out, you belong to the group that God secures and protects and will ultimately deliver from this world of darkness. That really from time to time has been a temptation for the church, for Christians. Today, of course, it's become a very dominant narrative. It is very much how Christianity is depicted throughout the world. It may very well even be the reason some of us are here today. We want to know we have the truth and we have security against the dark world. And yet, if we delve more deeply into the scriptures and embody them, if we delve into the gospel and embody that, if we delve into the living tradition of our church and the liturgy and the church fathers and embody that, we find an altogether different narrative, a different way of resolving this paradox. So let us look first to the prophet Isaiah, from whom Matthew quotes in this 4th chapter of his gospel as he speaks about the people who sat in darkness, having seen a great light. He's quoting from Isaiah chapter 9, which of course we sing so beautifully in great compliment when we sing God is with us. We chant many verses from that chapter. And the prophet here isn't promising mere illumination. If we listen carefully to this prophetic passage, it is the promise of justice, of the increase of his government and peace. There shall be no end, to order it, to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forevermore. The nature of the light that Isaiah foresees is one that exposes oppression, the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor. It's a light that ends violence. Every battle of the warrior is confused noise, and its garments rolled in blood. And that light establishes righteous governance upon the throne of David. So the Messianic light doesn't simply make us feel better about darkness. It reveals darkness as darkness so that it can be addressed. It's diagnostic before it's therapeutic. And in Matthew, Jesus is presented precisely as that light in a ministry that inaugurates the kingdom that Isaiah foresaw. Indeed, the light has dawned. Now, if we turn to the early church and to the patristic witness, we note, of course, that the early church called baptism photismos, illumination. enlightenment. The newly baptized were neophotisti, the newly illuminated. But what is it that baptism illumines? Not just grace, but sin. Romans 6 that we read at every baptism, that we read at the Theophany liturgy this past week, is explicit. We must see our death in sin before we can participate in resurrection life. Baptism leads not to a sudden and new day where everything is rosy, but into the heart of testing, temptation, and the revelation of sin. Note in this morning's gospel, immediately after his baptism, Jesus is taken to the wilderness by the Spirit where he is tested, where he must overcome that which has been exposed as the authority of this world under the domination of Satan. And he overcomes that, but he faces it first. In St. John Chrysostom's homilies on the Gospel of John, he develops the theme that Christ as light doesn't simply banish darkness, but makes visible what was always hidden. On John 1:5, the light that shines in the darkness, Chrysostom writes that the light exposes the works of darkness, making them manifest so that they can be addressed. The coming of Christ reveals the depth of human sin precisely by illuminating it. We'd never seen actually how far we'd fallen until the light showed us. Many of the church fathers actually suggest the moment of the fall of man is the moment Christ is revealed, because we didn't know until then. Maximus the Confessor talks about that light of baptism and what it does within us. He says that it grants us the akrisis, discernment, the ability to distinguish good from evil, truth from falsehood. Before the light, we couldn't see that distinction clearly. The light doesn't create darkness, but it reveals what was already there. Cyril of Alexandria similarly develops this in a medical mode. He talks about the need for the light as a diagnostic tool. The physician must diagnose in order to heal. Diagnosis requires seeing the disease clearly. Christ, as the light, reveals our sickness so we can cure it. You can't heal what you can't see. Gregory of Nyssa, in the life of Moses, develops this as this interior battle within us. Spiritual progress is actually an ever-increasing perception of what needs purification. So many of us feel this, I think, right? We expect that coming to church, having been baptized, receiving the sacraments, suddenly everything will feel good, right? We will overcome everything. But it seems the more we progress, the more there is to overcome. More is revealed within us. The darkness seems more present. This is precisely what Gregory describes. The closer Moses draws to the divine light on Sinai, the more he becomes aware of his own unworthiness. He has the famous description of what he calls epaktasis, which is the fact that our spiritual progress will be infinite. There will always be something more to do. The more we draw close to God, the further it feels we are from him. This isn't pessimism. It's the paradox that greater illumination reveals greater depths, requiring greater redemption. So the fathers understood Christ's light as revelatory, making visible what was previously hidden in shadow. It's all uncomfortable, but necessary. The light shows us what needs redemption. So coming back to the world around us, is it actually getting darker? We feel the world descending into chaos. But what is an objective appreciation of all of that? If we think about it rationally, slavery, once universal, unremarked, defended by philosophers and theologians, is universally recognized as abhorrent. It's outlawed everywhere, even if still practiced illegally. Violence, murder rates in Europe were 30 to 40 times higher than today. Torture was routine. Public executions were entertainment. War was glorified. Women and children, once regarded as property without legal personhood and rights. The very concept of children's rights or women's rights would have been incomprehensible in most of human history. Human rights more generally, the idea of universal human dignity regardless of class, race, sex, or religion, is a very recent phenomenon, and one unthinkable without the light of Christ spreading in this world. Life expectancy doubling, infant mortality reduced by 90% plus, extreme poverty reduced from 90% to less of 10% of the global population, increase in literacy, education, democracies expanded. By almost every objective metric, violence, slavery, disease, famine, literacy, legal rights, infant mortality, the world is better, particularly where Christian influence has been strongest. But why doesn't it feel that way? Well, there's the sociological reasons we can rehearse, of course, the 24/7 news cycle. We know about every atrocity almost instantly. In 1850, you'd hardly have known what was going on 50 miles away. But today, we know everything, everywhere, all at once. And it creates the illusion there is more darkness, when really we're just seeing more of what's already there. Media bias, of course, news disproportionately focusing on the negative because it captures attention. Biased memory. We romanticize the past, rose-tinted glasses, forgetting daily hardships and injustices. But also the theological reasons. We have an expanded moral consciousness as a result of the light of Christ. We now recognize as evil things our ancestors couldn't even see as problematic. This is progress, but it feels like moral decline because we're aware of injustices that were previously invisible. Increased transparency. Society no longer effectively covers up atrocities. This is uncomfortable, but it's the necessary first step towards accountability and change. So the paradox is resolved as follows. The world feels darker because the light is spreading. We see more evil not because there is more evil, but because the light is revealing what was always hidden in the shadows. Today, we celebrate Saint Theodosius, the Cenobiarch, of whom the church sings, he illumined the whole universe. Imagine that. Through his life, he illumined the whole universe. How did a monk in the Judean desert illumine the universe? 5th century Palestinian monasticism was largely the business of hermits, right? Individuals in caves pursuing personal holiness. This worked okay for the spiritually advanced, but it left many floundering. The desert concealed both saints and charlatans. Darkness hid both virtue and delusion. What did St. Theodosius do? He began in Palestine to organize some of the first monastic communities, like what Macrina and her perhaps lesser-known brothers, Gregory of Nyssa and Basil the Great, were doing in Cappadocia. So Theodosius is doing in and around Bethlehem in Judea. And by bringing people together, it had the effect of bringing to light the darkness. It was a difficult process. Community life exposed issues that solitude had hidden. Pride masquerading as humility. Delusion disguised as vision. Cruelty justified as asceticism. You can deceive yourself in a cave. It's harder to do in community. The light of the common life revealed what needed healing. But also in community, true holiness was made verifiable, accountable. Genuine sanctity had to demonstrate itself through patience with difficult brethren, through service, through actual charity, caring for one another. The light distinguished authentic spirituality from the counterfeit. Theodore's Theodosius' monastery also became famous for hospitality, feeding the poor, caring for pilgrims, serving the sick. His light revealed that holiness isn't just about personal piety, but concrete care for the vulnerable. And curiously, it wasn't necessarily a place where everybody was like-minded or on the same page. This was the most diverse form of monasticism imaginable. In fact, ethnically, it was composed of people from all parts of the known world. There were Greeks, there were Syrians, there were Armenians who came. And he set up carefully chapels so they could each worship in their own language, and they came together and celebrated the divine liturgy and communed together. Each prayed their own language, but were united in one community. And the light revealed that unity doesn't require uniformity, and showed a way past and overcoming division. So Theodosius didn't despair at what the light revealed. He saw the chaos of desert monasticism and brought order. He saw the needs of the poor and established hospitality. He saw ethnic division and created unity from diversity. And the model for us in this is that the light that reveals also empowers transformation, but only if we don't turn away from what the light shows us. When the light reveals darkness, whether that's systemic injustice, hidden abuse, or normalized cruelty, our first reaction is often to feel overwhelmed. Surely if these evils were always there, then nothing has really changed. There is no light dawning, no light spreading. But no, we need to reframe that. The very fact that we see these evils as evil is itself evidence that the light is at work. Our ancestors didn't see slavery as wrong. We do. Our ancestors didn't see domestic violence as criminal. We do. Our ancestors didn't recognize universal human dignity. We do. This is the light spreading. And once the light reveals darkness, we cannot ignore it. To see injustice and turn away is to extinguish the light. And this is precisely what Isaiah's prophecy meant. The light inaugurates a reign of justice and peace, and we participate in that reign by addressing what the light reveals. So how do we bear this light that has shone in the world, that has enlightened the whole world? Well, first, by resisting despair. When you feel overwhelmed by news of darkness, remember you're seeing it because the light is spreading. Your moral distress is evidence of the illumination. We need to verify our perceptions, check facts against feelings. Is it actually an increase in violence, or are we being distorted? Are things objectively worse, or are we just noticing? We need to give thanks for the good that is at work in this world, acknowledging genuine improvements where the light has spread in human rights, healthcare, education, reduction of violence and poverty. Gratitude doesn't ignore the remaining darkness, but it sustains hope. We need to act on what's revealed. Like Theodosius, don't just lament the darkness, bring structure, justice, mercy, and order to our corner of the universe. Volunteer, advocate, serve, create alternatives, and maintain perspective. We're in the already but not yet. The light has dawned, but the last day, the final day of the Lord is not yet complete. We work in hope, neither in triumphalism nor in despair. So the people who sat in darkness have seen a great light. And upon those who sat in the region and shadow of death, light has indeed dawned. Isaiah's prophecy is being fulfilled. The reign of justice and peace is advancing, inch by difficult inch, century by century. Look at history. Look at the objective data. The light is spreading, revealing darkness that was always there, and empowering transformation. Theodosius illumined the universe not by eliminating all darkness, but by bringing light into his own corner of creation. And that light spread and took hold. We're called to do the same. When you feel overwhelmed by darkness, remember you're seeing it because the light is spreading. Your moral outrage is evidence of illumination. Your compassion is a gift of grace. Your exhaustion at injustice is the light at work in you. Don't turn away from what the light reveals. Don't despair the darkness you now see. Instead, give thanks that you can see it, and then, like St. Theodosius, bring your light to your corner of the universe. The light has dawned. The light is dawning still. And we, by grace, are called to be light in the Lord, revealing and redeeming, until, as the prophet Isaiah says, the day when the sun shall be no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee, but the Lord himself shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thy God thy glory.